Hello, listeners. Oh my God. Guess who it is? It is us. We're back. As you can hear, I am full of rested beans. I'm Elisabeth Finchantelli. I write reviews and features and all kinds of things for the New York Times. And oh, hey, have you tried to do the devilish quiz I did about Romeo and Juliet in pop culture? I was told it's quite hard. So anyway, look it up.
Where is it?
It's on the Times. I did it for the Times. I know. You missed it.
Oh, you put together the quiz?
I did a quiz. It was actually months ago, but I completely forgot to plug it. So
Well, that's an interesting segue.
exactly, right?
But we'll get into that
Yes.
shortly, for sure. And I'm Peter Marks, by the way, one-time theater critic for the Washington Post and the New York Times, and now a pursuer of new adventures, which does have a Romeo and Juliet tie-in, actually, interestingly.
You know what? It's all planned. I planned it all. I planned this amazing introduction. But anyway, your new adventure, or your latest adventure, I should say, you're an adventuresome guy, is the subject of this episode of Marks and Finchantelli, which is our podcast. And we talk about theater from a whole bunch of angles. But honestly, I would not have seen this particular one that we're going to do today. I would never have seen that coming. You've got to tell us more. Okay, like I know listeners are waiting with that breath that is bated. You've got to tell us.
Oh, I will, Elisabeth. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. You can tell we're both refreshed because we're on such giddy best behavior. And I don't know what restful beans are, but, you know,
I don't
that
either,
goes
but
somewhere on the menu with risotto balls. I'm not sure where. But anyway, I am exploring new terrain in my post-critical life. And this summer represented a major leap forward and was one of the main reasons you didn't hear much from us over the summer.
Yes.
I spent 5 weeks in London as a student, yes, a student in the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts Shakespeare acting program, which was
I
a
love how
life-changing.
you're chuckling as you say that.
Well, because I know that, you know, you have certain, not issues, but issues, as we say now. You have a certain amount of curiosity about what this was like for me.
Oh my God, yes.
And I wanted to address it on the podcast. And to help us unpack the experience today, I've asked one of my wonderful classmates from RADA, and she's also now a new lifelong friend. Her name is Caitlin Wilson, a New York-based actress, and we're going to have her on to talk about the experience.
I know we had made like some mysterious allusion to this in our previous podcast. Like we couldn't, like you were not ready to talk about it, and I'm totally psyched to talk about it. And I need to say that you have now joined the ranks of alums of RADA, such as, for our listeners out there who might not have heard of that institution, Peter is now on absolutely equal footing with Glenda Jackson, Kenneth Branagh, Anthony Hopkins, Vivien Leigh, Alan Rickman, one of my favorites, Roger Moore, which I feel like Bond is just like the next step on your resume. Like why would you not do that? But anyway, one of the things that has been really gnawing at me, and you've talked a little bit before on the podcast about your acting experience with theater of war. Like you've been, you know, doing this for a little while now, but like that is like another, like Shakespeare is another step. And what the heck came over? Like what? Like how? Was that like something you had been thinking about for like decades, or what happened?
Yes, I'll try and dispel some of your shock and awe, Elisabeth. In a nutshell, I've always been drawn to acting, and I even flirted with the idea of becoming an actor after I left college. I'd done a lot of college productions, but life took me in other directions, namely a job at a newspaper. And I started as a regular reporter and a feature writer and all kinds of things. The truth is I never had any intention of becoming a theater critic. It fell into my lap. I think I've described some of that before. So now that I've shed my daily journalism shackles, which, Elisabeth, you are still heavily shackled too.
Oh, yes.
But happily, I say, happily
Yes,
shackled
absolutely.
too. I am free to re-explore that other part of myself. And as part of that, I enrolled at RADA for this intense, grueling, exhausting, thrilling, life-changing 5-week course of study. And in the process, got to play none other than Lear, Shylock, and Midsummer Night's Dream's Bottom as a result.
Okay, I have to say that I feel like Bottom was a bit typecasting maybe for you, but did I go there? Yes, I did. I did.
Yes, you did. So yes, Elisabeth Bottom was the comic roles I think I'm better suited to. Out there, casting directors, if you're listening, I'm totally on your wavelength. If there's a comedy role of any kind opening, anyway, that's where my sweet spot is.
Well, we're going to talk more about that when we dig into this with Caitlin. But I remember before you left, we were texting or something, and you were a little anxious because you had to, you had to arrive with some stuff already prepared, which I'm sure must have been nerve-wracking. So we'll talk a bit more about that. But let's get started with Caitlin Wilson, your new classmate and friend, and you can start doing a double act now together, which is fantastic. Just like Glenda Jackson and Roger Moore.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Just like that. Well, welcome, Caitlin. And we're going to start with, we all know way too much about Peter, but so you're going to have to tell us a little bit about you.
I'm originally from Seattle, Washington, and my intro to the dramatic arts was because my dad was a theater person as well, and his love of that just passed down to me. So I ended up majoring in theater in college at the New School in New York, and then had a very typical post-college theater major life of waitressing and trying to make money and trying to decide what's more important and when you can afford to do things for your art and when you can't. And then somehow accidentally working in New York politics. And
okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, all of this is to say that around the time that I was deciding I needed to exit New York City politics and sort of reorient and reground, I saw that RADA was doing a workshop, a Shakespeare intensive workshop in New York. It was their first time they were actually offering something in New York. And it was for 3 days, 10 to 5. It was late November. And I had, the election had just happened. And I was just like, if I can have 3 days where I can feel like a person and reconnect to something, I'll take it. And it ended up being like 3 days felt like, 3 years in a good way.
So that's why you applied to the summer program.
Yeah, that is the very long story of why I applied to the summer program. As you can see, I am a daughter of a professor. So
my God. We're doomed between you and Peter, like the journalist. This is
I know, I'm long-winded. I'm sorry.
We're going to be in and Peter, why did you decide to do that?
Well, I also, it's like everyone has this roundabout story of theater lovers, people who love theater and love to act and are looking for a way in. This is a wonderful segue. It's a wonderful door opening to an intense experience with the most important playwright who ever lived, in my opinion. And Caitlin and I we both applied and got in. It was basically submit a headshot, a resume, and an explanation of why you wanted to take it. It's really open to almost anybody with an intense desire to do it and with some justification. And anyway, there were about 80 students this summer. We're divided into groups and each given a sort of Shakespeare-related title. Our group, Caitlin and I were put in the same group of 13 people. we were called the Swans, that was our group. And we would spend basically the first 4 weeks together, going from class to class. There were some divisions also of that into other groups, but mostly this was our support system and our bonding group. Our group was called the mature group because we were older than most of the other. The age range obviously from Caitlin to me is very wide, but I was probably the oldest person in the program. If I wasn't the oldest, I was the second oldest.
The entire program, not just the Swans.
Not just the Swans, exactly. And virtually across the board. There were a few people in their 60s and probably early 70s, maybe. And this group did a variety of courses together. We did everything from scene study to stage fighting to voice to singing to dance. We did acting techniques and physical performance and sonnets and monologues. It was about 9:30 to 5 or 6 every day for 4 weeks, and 5 days a week, and just a complete immersion with wonderful tutors, people who were teachers who were directors, other specialties in London and in British theater who were amazing mentors. Am I covering this correctly, Caitlin?
Yeah, definitely. You're doing a very good journalistic summary, which is very the opposite of what I was about to do, which is just ramble on. But
okay, but I have a question because my understanding is that you two, everybody had to turn up with some material ready and memorized. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So why did you two prepare?
Caitlin, what did you have?
So we were supposed to pick 2 monologues. One we just pick, not really memorize, and one actually memorize and have ready. And the first one I did was one of Phoebe's monologues from As You Like It. The Think Not I Love Him, Though I Ask for Him. Phoebe has she has like a few pretty great monologues, and it's hard to pick one, but she's the best, so did that one.
She's in As You Like. She's in the Bohemia part. She's one of the country bumpkins, so to speak, who is being pursued and pursuing various boys.
Yeah.
So Peter, what did you do?
So I picked. The one I prepared most rigorously was Romeo. Yes, that really makes a lot of sense, right? I did his but soft, what light through yonder window breaks speech, because I thought, when am I going to have a chance to be Romeo?
Yeah, right.
And the other one I did, and we were supposed to do a second, and Caitlin will tell us what her second was. Yeah. It was supposed to be a contrasting monologue or speech, and I did Shylock's "Hath Not a Jew Eye" speech. So I was sort of, spanning the chronological age thing with mine. What was your second one, Caitlin?
Lady Percy from Henry IV Part 2.
Right.
For God's sake, go not to these wars. One.
And I'm curious, because I never got to ask you this, Caitlin. What did you feel like getting up? Did it feel very natural to you to just stand up in front of us, your classmates, and do this sort of cold before us?
I don't know if I would say it felt natural. I think for me, when I was in school and doing this all the time, getting up and doing it for classes you get used to it. But I haven't done this for a while, except for just recently with the New York Shakespeare workshops. So I don't know if it always is supposed to feel natural, when you're doing it in a classroom setting or in a workshop setting with people you don't know. Like, I think it always, that first time, doesn't necessarily feel natural. But to me, doing it in that sort of setting has always felt very different than doing it in a performance. In a performance, once you've done it and you're on stage and in the moment, that always feels natural. And it takes a minute to actually get to the point where I'm feeling
Yeah.
not extra nervous doing it among peers
Right.
and workshopping it.
Good point.
Wait, so did you, I mean, both of you, was that like the first day you have to, was it on a stage or in
In a classroom.
and then you have to do it in front of everybody else?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
bang, 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 one after the other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All that. We were in classrooms in a building in the Russell Square, Bloomsbury part of London, in these two old RADA buildings that have been part of the organization for many, many decades. And you had to just literally stand up. And we had a wonderful director. Her name was Deborah Page, and she had been the artistic director of the Sheffield Crucible Theatre in the city of Sheffield. So she knew Shakespeare intimately, and she always had incredible insights for us to sort of, she gave us notes right from the very start.
Oof.
And for me, it was like starting from scratch. I had some help in New York. I worked with an actor named Adam Shockett, who had gone to Yale Drama School, and I had worked with him as he was my coach for several sessions in which I worked on the speeches. So I had some, and even so, Caitlin, I'm 70 years old. Memorizing lines, I found to be a very, very anxiety-producing experience. It's very different when you do it in a room with one person and when you have to stand up in front of a room full of people and use all the dimensions of Shakespeare, what that requires. So people like Caitlin were a model for me because she had an ease with the situation. She knew. I'm putting words in Caitlin's mouth now, but they're nice words. So I think I can say that that I would watch people like Caitlin do it, and I would feel more like I had some sense of what I was supposed to be doing with this stuff.
Wait, what was the purpose of the exercise? Like, was it to put you in groups? I mean, that seems like really harsh, or just to see where you're coming from, or
Good question.
what was the point?
Well, the point was so there was a progression from doing the monologues, and that was one of the exercises you do because there's so much soliloquizing in Shakespeare.
Right.
There's so many times when actors are alone on stage speaking. It's one of the things you really have to perfect. But it was also to cast us for a scene study portion of the experience with Deborah. And we each were given parts. I was cast as and you do a scene. I was cast as King Lear in a scene, yes. And Caitlin can tell you the interesting double that she got because we did a scene together. But tell Elisabeth what you did.
There were two other scenes from Lear, one with Edmund and Gloucester and one with Edgar and Gloucester. And so I played Edmund in one and Edgar in the other.
Oh, wow.
So Edmund and Edgar are the two sons of Gloucester, and they're sort of opposites in the play.
Yes, one's evil and one's good.
Yeah. And they bookended the series of scenes that we did, and it was really fun. It was really fun. And I think what was so great about Deborah, who was our director / tutor / whatever they call them in England, is that she really wanted to find, you spend the first 2 weeks working mainly on your monologues as your own piece, but you also, there's a lot of other exercises that she would do with us while we were working on the monologues. And then after she saw that, she wasn't really casting for like, who would be good as X, Y, and Z. It was like, what do I see in their work, in how they approach and how they, worked with this particular monologue or this particular character? And where's another dimension that I can see them or they would be interesting to like work on, a different challenge for them, a different, like something to explore particularly. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but it was a real like opportunity to work and learn. And I think, that's the difference than, if they were just going through an audition or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Peter, because like one of the things you texted me during that time was that it was a life-changing experience. And I was wondering if it made you reconsider some of the things you had written or thought about how or how you approach theater as a critic.
Totally.
Like in what way?
Totally. 100%. I don't think I'd be the same critic that I was after having this experience, partly because what you learn is, first of all, you learn how hard it is to be an actor. It is murder, and it's wonderful murder, but it's murder. It is total commitment and focus.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a critic and you sit in the audience and your mind wanders for 10 minutes, no one is going to be standing over you and saying, "What the hell were you doing?" Every moment that you're under the microscope as an actor, you have to be on and at the top of your game. So understanding that and understanding all the technical aspects that go into performance and doing it well, and what the director gives you moment by moment, and how they can shape a performance, are things I only tangentially understood before I did this. When I understood how much the production of breath and the manner in which you breathe and how that affects your voice, all those things. Interestingly, I'll tell you a funny story. The one thing that they don't tell everybody at RADA when you're doing this is anybody's last name. We're all just introduced to each other by first name. I had to ask people their last name like a week or two into the session to find out who they were, who their full identities were. And I think it's part of, Caitlin may be better in explaining this to me, I think it's a way of sort of equalizing everybody and not having... You don't have a history really when you come in. You're just there to act. And the last day, I had a consult in the final 5th week, which we'll talk about, with a person who does physical performance. And she said to me, "You have a lovely voice. How long have you been an actor?" And I laughed. I said, "Katja, I have been a theater critic for 25 years." And her mouth dropped open. And she said, "You have made my day." I don't know why that so thrilled her. She didn't hit me over the head with a stick or anything. And I also have to say that the reception I got was uniformly positive when I told people what I did. There was nobody to my face anyway who said anything negative. But what I'm saying is that I would be paying attention to a totally different aspect of what I was seeing on the stage if I had had this training earlier in my career. And also a confidence about what I was saying, about the interpretive aspect of performance and how it's affected by technique. Those things I have a whole different sense of. And I look now at staging differently. I look at how people move around a stage and what that does to a scene in an entirely new way. Those are just some of the ways that it would affect me as a critic.
Wow.
That's really wild to me. I mean, because it is such a different, completely radical change of perspective from watching to being watched, I guess, in the most basic terms. But like, what did you, like, okay, so what was the course of study? Like, what, was it like broken down like week by week? So like week 1, we do this, or was it a bit of everything every week and then it kind of amped up as it went along?
Oh, that's a good question. Caitlin, you want to?
I would say it was a little bit of both. There were things that we did, like every single day we had multiple different kinds of classes. So it was very much like, voice, physical performance, dance, scene study, acting technique, movement. Like we had all of these units or sessions, and it was pretty regular. Some of them were 2 days a week and you switched off. Some of them were every day. There were some that like stayed consistently throughout the 4 weeks. And then there was a few things that we had specifically in certain sections. So we like started off our first week, we had like 3 days of clown, and it was the only time we did clown. And I thought it was like brilliant. I don't know if this was a logistical thing that made that happen or if it was actually like a curricular a decision, but having clown be like in the very first week when we're just getting there and just getting to know each other, and then just doing 3 intense sessions.
And culminating in a performance.
Yeah.
So we had to do 3 sessions with a clown instructor, Alice, who then we had to put together a performance, a 10-minute performance that we did for the rest of the school. And several of the other specialties ended in performance. We did dance. We learned a dance, an ensemble dance for the 13 of us.
Okay, that's my nightmare scenario, like right there.
We did a dance. We learned a madrigal.
Yeah.
We were broken down into even smaller groups.
That's my nightmare scenario.
Yeah, and we each had to perform that for the entire in harmony, in 4-part harmony for the entire school. We had to do the monologues. Ultimately, we had to give a performance of our monologues to everybody, and
the sonnet.
We had to take a course in sonnets,
Right?
And we had to perform those for the entire school.
Well, did it? I mean, I would think that, okay, the most obvious benefit that I could see for me would be to get, I mean, Shakespeare notoriously, one of the biggest, I would say, hurdles is that the text to our modern ears is hard to follow. And did you feel that that really helped you? Because, people always say that when it's well done, you can pretty much understand it as if, and you can tell the difference. When it's not well done, you're like, what are they talking about? Like the rhythm is all wrong. And I mean, there's really, like, it's a very, very clear difference. And did you feel that it gave you like insights into like the flow and like how mastering the flow of the text helped you understand it better?
Totally.
Because for me, it's a huge hurdle as an audience member.
Well, I think the philosophy that the RADA tutors taught, as well as many other Shakespeare practitioners say, is that the text, even if our modern ears do not understand every single word literally, if the actor knows what they're saying, if the actor themselves understands what they're saying, and the director and the actor and the production in general understand what everyone's saying, and thus it is directed in that way and acted in that way, that the audience will know what's happening. Even if you don't have to understand every literal word, you will get the movement of it, the emotion of it. You'll just feel it. And I think, there are many, many anecdotes of people like seeing plays in different languages that they don't understand and understanding everything. And I think it's very similar. With Shakespeare in particular, you get a lot of the direction based in the structure of the text, particularly if you're working in verse. So there weren't, there's the famous thing that there weren't any stage directions. And it's because the way that the text is constructed will guide you to what the character is, the journey of the character, both in what they're saying and how they're saying it, but even sometimes in like where they are physically, or where it suggests where they would be moving, where they would be breathing, where they'd be pausing for thought or any other example.
Yes, exactly. What you learn is, that's the thing I learned too, Elisabeth, was it's the verse, the verse, the verse. The iambic pentameter, which, is the 10-syllable line in Shakespeare. And when it happens regularly and when it happens irregularly, it all has meaning. And Caitlin will agree, every punctuation mark is there for a reason. Not the ones that were added by his, in the folio or in the quarto by editors. I don't know how even to break that down. But when you're in the class with Deborah, she's looking at the text and going, well, there's a comma there and it's for a reason. Let's explore why. What is that break in the thought? We're moving on to another thought after that. It gives you the flow of the argument.
Right.
And there are just a lot of signals that Shakespeare gives you that I was not really attuned to before. It sounds maybe rudimentary to some listeners, But as an actor, I was not aware of those things and how they could affect the way you read a line.
Mm-hmm.
And what you also learned, and Caitlin, tell me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is to trust the words.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to do all as much as you think you have to do when you're acting Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, if you just get the flow and understand where it's going,
Mm-hmm.
even if you, as Caitlin says, you don't know what every word means, or if they're reversed in order from the way you speak, it makes it hard for memorization, that's for sure, because the rhythms are not our rhythms. But once you hook into it, the language is not foreign at all.
Right. And I think there's a lot of like, when you're studying Shakespeare as an actor, there's a lot of like very deep text work in order to understand what you're doing, to understand what you're saying. So, you know, you're going in and you're finding the stress and the unstressed, and then where there's the, you know, the trochees and, you know, all of this like, this jargon for terminology for like reading verse.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have that map laid out, once you really understand the flow of the argument and the flow of the text and what this character is saying based on the guide that you're getting through the language, then you can actually inhabit the thoughts in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being a code breaker.
Right. But, you know, there's this idea that, you know, adhering to the verse means you do the da 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 da, and you say, you know, you have to like be very rigid. But it's actually the opposite. It's like, you know, people use this analogy a lot, but it's very much like music. Like you have to know what the notes mean, and you have to know, you know, a time signature and all of that.
Right.
But there's always a feeling that the moment of living within the music in the moment that you're playing it, and the interpretation that you give it as you're playing it, even though you're still playing the notes. You're still doing what's on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, Elisabeth, to emphasize that so there was an optional fifth week you could stay for.
Yeah.
And that was the week when they cast you in one of 4 productions that you had to put up in 5 days. So Caitlin and I had been Swans for 4 weeks, and we both stayed for the 5th week, along with several other of our former Swans, or our always Swans, and we were both cast. Caitlin and I were both cast in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
I was cast as Bottom for half the play because I shared the role. It's such a big role with an actress. And I played Wall in the Pyramus and Thisbe scene. And Caitlin played...
Oh, I played Titania and Odysseus at the end.
Oh, that little part.
Yeah.
So we had to do that in 5 damn days.
Yeah.
We had to learn the parts. They were truncated. They were like hour-long versions.
Did you have to memorize the part?
Yes.
Yeah, you had to memorize it.
Oh my God.
But it was condensed. It was every version of a play was cut down to an hour. So it was not as much to memorize, but it was still memorizing. Yeah.
That's still that's daunting to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we kind of have to wrap this up. But okay, I have a question for both of you. Like, what is next? What's the next? Are you both auditioning? Like, what are you up to? Are you signing up for like a, I don't know, are you signing up for a Stanislavski workshop? Like, what were you going method? Like, what are you up to next?
Caitlin, what are you doing?
If I can be really honest, I have quite literally no idea what I'm doing after September 6th, which is when I leave Venice. I don't have a plan. I don't have a full-time job anymore. So I quite literally have no idea of what I'm doing.
Which is exciting too, which is wide open.
It is wide open. You know, things being wide open are, you know, contingent on, you know, finances.
Well, yes.
So at some point I will have to figure out that part. But
Oh, we're going to see Caitlin somewhere, I am convinced, going forward. Elisabeth, I am already enrolled.
Oh my God.
In another, I'm taking a Shakespeare study course with Patrick Page.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How?
So it's already happening in New York, and that's in New York.
Oh my God.
I am going to start auditioning.
Yeah.
And God only knows where this is leading. I have no clue.
I'm picturing the audition scene from that opens All That Jazz, which is, of course, everybody's idea of a nightmare scenario.
No.
And listeners, if you have not seen that movie, it starts with an unbelievable audition scene. Not Shakespeare, obviously.
Yeah.
And Caitlin is a terrific actress. She's wonderful, and she's got great presence, if I may say so, with my critical hat back on. So I am hoping to see her pursue this.
Okay, actually, Peter, I have a question for you. Did you ever have a kind of out-of-body experience where you were reviewing your own performance? And did it get in your head?
So it's quite the opposite. Out of body is the opposite of what it is.
Yeah.
You go deep into your own body to the point where after I played Bottom, I was told I got laughs. I could not hear anything. I was so focused on getting the words and giving a performance. I didn't know what the hell was going on beyond me and my scene. And I didn't hear the laughs. So the answer is no, of course I could not possibly judge. I think that what you think of as an actor is, God, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
I know if I had another shot at that, I would have found other things that really would have nailed it.
Yeah.
Or at least gotten closer to what I expected of myself. So, I mean, that's at least how I am. So the self-critical element is, I don't know if it's realistic, what your experience of your own performance is. So that's why critics are a good thing, because at least somebody is committing to paper or to print or to digital some idea of how well or not you nailed it. And if you're lucky enough to be reviewed and reviewed favorably, that's lovely. And anybody judging someone else's performance, it's sort of an honor to be evaluated, is how I look at it now.
Yeah, I think critics in any field are important. It's a part of cultural discussion. You don't have to agree with critique, but having a voice that is participating in engaging with art and having thoughts about it we all need it. It's very essential. And that's why I think, people didn't go, oh, you were a critic, because great. People talking about theater. Amazing.
Right.
Well,
Right.
yes, that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah. And I just want to say that Peter is also an incredible actor. And
my God.
No,
Okay.
and when you did Romeo, we all, you were Romeo and 15 and 14 and in love with Juliet. And
I have to interject right now that I can see Peter as we're recording them, and he really blushed. So
I am blushing.
yeah.
on that image that I'm sure will be seared into our listeners' minds, we should end this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, you too, for
my
joining
God.
us. Well, Peter, you're always here. I can't shake you, but
Can't get rid of me.
can review. Well, thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for joining us, Caitlin. Let's have lunch soon. And before we leave, I have to give a shout out to the rest of the Swans, who I know will be listening. So Martina, Maria, Jason, Shihua, Elisabeth, Allison, Lisa, Adam, Saraswati, KJ, and Richie, our forever troop. I love you all.
I feel completely left out. Like I feel like, like when the actors go for drinks after a show and the stage manager is left alone to sweep the stage. That's how I feel right now. Like I'm totally out of the group. Sorry.
Yeah, you critics, you're a miserable lot. You have your own little community, I guess. But my community...
How fast you have gone to the dark side.
Oh, my
How
God.
fast.
I think of it as walking towards the light, my dear. But...
I see that you have been partaking of that sweet, sweet nectar known as Kool-Aid.
I have, and it's delicious.
Oh, God. All right. Well, okay, we're going to stop now because this is getting out of control, as our episodes tend to do. Well, that's it for this episode of Marx and Vincentelli. Wow, we're putting together a great fall lineup at one of our famous brainstorming breakfasts at a undisclosed diner in Brooklyn. We're going to roll this out in the coming weeks. In the meantime, subscribe to our podcast at marksvincentielli.substack.com. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is, guess what, Marks and Vincentelli. We're also both on social media under our real names, very easy to find.
Wait, before we leave, don't you want me to perform a soliloquy as a send-off?
Sorry. We've got to go. That's all the time we have. The soliloquy will be in the very near future.
Damn it.
At an undisclosed date. All right. Adios for now.